Hi guys, now as you see, it's 57 days before the exam, and now I've put together some topics, and as you can see I've actually run through, you can see all what's coming up. I'm going to go through some topics here. What I'm doing here is actually supporting you by going through variety of topics. From time to time you give me topics, but it would be nice if you continue to give me the topics that you're struggling with, so I can support you on those. Now we're going to look at these are the formulas that you need for your exam. So we got here the trig sign, and it's nice for you to know these formulas. You need to know these formulas, the higher and foundation, guys. So sine is equal to opposite, and this is based on your right angle triangle. So your right angle triangle, okay, so you got your right angle triangle here, you got your angle here. So you got your angle here. So here you got your opposite, you got your hypotenuse, and you got your adjacent. So remembering these, so there's the three thing here, basically the three key thing here. So you got your opposite, you got your hypotenuse, and you got your adjacent. And sine is basically opposite over hypotenuse, which is the longest side. Cos is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan is equal to opposite over adjacent. Also, you need to remember, so if you're finding the angle, right, you're going to use sine inverse, cos inverse, and tan inverse. Okay, so now that is the tan trigonometry. So you got sine, cos, and tan, and this is when you're focusing on finding out the angles or the side. When you're trying to work out the angle, you're using the inverse function, guys. Now this is for the higher guys here. So the higher guys, so this is when you got no right angle, right? So you got a triangle, right? And you're using the sine rule, cosecant rule, and area of a triangle. These formulas, you need to know them, guys, and these are for the higher guys. So the higher guys, you need to know these formulas. Quadratic formula. X is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a, and that works for any quadratic. So basically any quadratic, especially the ones that you cannot find. So for example, you got 3x squared plus say 20x minus 11. That's just an example I'm giving you there. Okay, that's just an example there. So you put A equals to 3, B equals to 20, and C equals you're able to work out the two solutions. Okay, the two solutions for x. So x equals to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Quadratic formula. How you guys need to know that? Area of a triangle, base times height divided by 2, higher and foundation. Right, area of a trapezium. This normally come in exam, but now this is not anymore. So these you need to know the area of a trapezium. So the area of a trapezium of A plus B, which is the parallel sides. So for any trapezium, identify the two parallel sides. It doesn't really matter where the shape or how the shape is. Identify where the two parallel sides is. So you can see here the two parallel side, that becomes the A plus B, right? And your perpendicular height must form a right angle. So your height is here. So it doesn't really matter, right? So basically identifying. So let's start working through some questions now. So we got here, last week I've looked at surface area. So I've got here a work out the surface area of a trapezial prism. So let's just look at this question here. The first thing I'm going to ask myself here is how many face, right? How many face does this trapezium prism have? So if we look at this carefully, guys. You can see here this is a trapezium, so we need to work out the area of the trapezium, okay, and we need to work out the area of all the faces. So if I go through this and identify the trapezium first, so my trapezium, I'm going to write out the sketch the shape, but you can do this quite happy. Do this. So to work out the area, I'm going to sketch my trapezium first. Okay, so now I'm going to just write out the figures for all my trapezium, and you can see what I'm doing here. So the trapezium, basically I'm saying 11, and we got at the top here so if I redraw this, So what I need here, you can identify the trapezium. So I've got 11 centimeter. We also got 8 centimeter, and we also need the 4 centimeter. Why don't I need the 5 at this time? Because we're working out the area of the trapezium, and as you can notice here, the two parallel side is 11 and 8. So to work out the area of the trapezium using the formula that I've just showed you, you basically will do 11 plus 8 divided by 2 times by 4. Okay, times by 4. So that is how you work out the area of the trapezium. So and then if you notice, it's going to be, that trapezium is going to be times 2. I'm going to times all of that by 2, because the two, you got two trapezium which is exactly the same. So we got here 8 plus 11, that's going to be 19 divided by 2, 19 divided by 2, and then times by 4. Right, so that's 38. So one of the trapezium is 38 centimeters square. So I need to times that by 2. So the two trapezium is 76 centimeters square. Okay, so we got the two trapezium, which is 76 centimeters square. And then I'm going to go through now. So I've done the trapezium so you can actually see how that's been done. So the trapezium, right, 11 plus 8, which is the two parallel side, times by 4 divided by 2. Okay, and that gives me 76 for the 2. Now I'm going to go through now and identify all the rectangles shape. So if I go through and identify all the rectangles, so I'm going to start from the bottom of the shape. So you can see the bottom of the shape there. The bottom of the shape, the rectangle for the bottom of that shape is, right, 20 times by 4. So that's going to be 4 times 20. Then we got 8 times 20. Then we got 5 times 20. Then we got, I'll put it up here, 11 times 20. So if I work out all the areas here of each rectangle, so each rectangle you got 80 centimeters square, 160 centimeters square, 100 centimeters square, and we got 220 centimeters square. So what we're going to do now is actually work out the total. So the total surface area would be, for the two trapezium, the total surface area so total surface area is equal to 76 plus 80 plus 160 plus 100 plus 220. Okay, so the total surface area, right, the trapezium is 76 and each of the rectangle. So you can see here the two trapezium is 76 plus 80 plus 160 plus 100 plus 220. So the total surface area is 636 centimeters square. So you got two trapezium and four rectangles. So two trapezium and four rectangles. Okay, we got here expand and simplify, and while like these always turn up in the exam. So first of all, let's do the first question here. So we got two x plus 5. You got times x minus 4. So basically x times 2x is 2x squared. X times 5. X times 5 is 5x. Minus 4 times 2 is minus 8x. Minus 4 times 5 is minus 20. So collect like terms, and the like terms we're looking at here. The like terms we're looking at here. So answer equals to 2x squared minus 3x minus 20. So opposite of expanding and simplify, we need to factorize. So if we look at the next question here, okay, next question we got x squared plus 6x minus 16. So the key thing here, we need to find two numbers. We need to find two numbers. We need to find two numbers. When we times them together, it gives us 16. And when we add or take away, we get 6x. So the two numbers here, and you can list the factors of 16. So you got 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4. Okay, so if we identify here, you can see here 1 times 16, yep, that gives you 16, but we need to get 8. So the two numbers, 2 and 8, if I take away 2 from 8, I can get 6. So factorize, we need to get into bracket, guys. Remember that, brackets. So x squared, you got x, and now the next thing I'm going to do here, right, it's going to be a 8 and a 2. To identify which one is positive, which one is negative, we need to get a plus 6x. The key thing here, we need to get a plus 6x. So to get that plus 6x, I need to make sure the bigger number is plus. So that's plus 8 minus 2. So that's factorizing. So plus 8 minus 2. Okay. Okay, simplify. Simplify the following expression. So simplifying the following expression here, we got 4. You got 4 times 6. So that's 24. You also got a to the power of 4 times a to the power of 2. So we add the indices. So we add the indices. So it's 4 plus 2. So that's a to the power of 6. And b, when there is no number, it means b to the power 1. So we got b times b squared. That's b to the power of 3 divided by 3 a square b. So now let's go through and actually work this out. You can see here 3 into 24 goes 8. So that's great. And then when we're dividing, we do the opposite. So dividing, we're taking away the powers. So a squared into a to the power 6. So that's 2 from 6. That's a to the power of 4. And b, so when there is no number, remember b to the power 1 equals to b. Because that's the mistake some students make here. So b to the power 1, when there's no number, it just means b. So b, taking away the power, so it's 1 from 3, that's b squared. Okay, make x the subject of the formula. This one most students find a bit tricky, like Ricky. So guess what now? Let's just look at this. It needs, so in this case you can see that c is the subject. It's c equals. So what we're looking for, make x the subject of the formula. We're looking to have x equals. That's the key thing. X equal for both. That's the subject of the formula. We're looking to make sure x equal. So if we look at the first question, here, you can see basically we got C equals to 9x minus y. So what we need x equals, so we need everything to be on one side and it's x equals. So in this case here we need to get rid of the minus y. So what do I need to do to both sides? I'm going to add y to both sides of the equation. Okay, and I use this to actually help you. So you got c plus y equals to 9x. Next, what I'm going to do to both sides of the equation, right, you can see 9x means 9 times x. I'm going to divide both sides by 9. So I've ended up with c plus y over 9 equals to x. So now x is the subject of the formula. X equals. So x is now the subject of the formula. Look at the next one we got here. We got c equals to the square root of bx. So what's the opposite of square root? What's the opposite of square root? Square. So I need to square both sides. So if I square both sides, I get rid of the square root. So I'm going to have c squared equals to bx. And then to get x on its own, I need to divide both sides by b. Divide both sides by b. So it's c squared divided by b equals to x. And x is on its own. Okay, in this question here it says a sequence is as follows: 5, 9, 13, 17, 21. Find a formula for n term and use it to find the 100th term. So basically we got here 5, 9, 13, 17, 21. So if we look at this carefully, what is it going up in each time? It's going up in lots of 4. Okay, plus 4, plus 4, plus 4, plus 4. Okay, so now what happened is it's going up in multiples of 4. So the n term for this sequence, we know it's going up in 4 lots of 4n. Now to work out the 0 term, what we need to do here, guys, is we need to go in the opposite direction. So we're going to take away 4 from the first term. So the first term in this case is 5. So I'm going to take away 4 from 5. If I take away 4 from 5, I get plus 1. So that plus 1 now is what I'm going to add on, right? So this is now my n term. My n term, or the formula for this sequence, The formula for this sequence, right, is 4n plus 1. So to work out the 100th term, we're going to just replace. So we're going to have 4 times by 100 plus 1. So the 100th term is 4 times 100 plus 1. So 4 times 100, so it's 401. Okay. So I'm trying to go through different topics here. Instead of just doing one topic as a lesson, I'm going through several different topics as you suggest to me. Okay, so it says here, use the information. So we need to use the information here to work out. Use the information to work out the value. Right, so if you notice here, the numbers that are involved, right, it's very straightforward. So if you look at the question here, right, you got 1.54 times by 7.3, and I've changed it around to show you that you can multiply any which way. So if we look at this here, the answer must include, because if you look at the top, it says 73 times 154 equals to 11,242. So the answer must include 11,242. So we got 2 decimal place there, 1 decimal place there. So in my answer, I'm looking for 3 decimal place. So this answer is 11.242. The next question is exactly the same process. So this question here, so that's I. Right, so double I. Yep. So double I must have something to do with 154. Right, and why did I say that? Because you can see at the top here you got 73 multiplied by 150. 73 multiplied by 154. So your answer must include 154, something to do with that. And if you look here, you got 112,420 divided by 0.73. So if you look carefully here, if I did actually divide this normal number, right, into that, right, 73 into 11,242, you would get 154. Okay, but it is not, it takes on, if you notice, 0.73, it take on 100 there. So two more decimal place, plus they add another 0 on. So the answer is 154,000. So notice the difference here. You got 1, 1, 2, 4, 2, and there's a 0 there. Okay, so that's multiplied by 10. Also notice this is also divided by 0.73, which divide by 100, right? So we got 10 added there and divided by 100 there, so you got 1,000, right? So think about this, you got 1,000, so your answer is 154,000. Okay, looking at this question here, what is the reciprocal of 8? So the reciprocal of a number is, so for the reciprocal of x, right, is 1 over x. Okay, so we need to remember that, please. So the reciprocal of 8 equals to 1 over 8, right? The reciprocal of 8 is 1/8. Now be careful about these two questions here. Notice the difference here in these two questions. Okay, we got here here 5 to the x to the power 0. Anything raised to the power 0, so let's just start. What is 12 raised to the power 0? It's 1. 3 raised to the power 0 is 1. N to the power 0 is 1, right? 800 raised to the power 0 is 1. So anything raised to the power 0 is 1. But be careful about these two questions. I like these two questions here. One is in bracket, exactly the same, and one is without brackets. So if I look at this here, this is telling me this is 5 times x to the power 0. So in this case here, x to the power 0 is 1. So this is 5 times 1. The answer is 5. So the answer is 5. Okay. Now, the bracket tells you that we are dealing with everything inside the bracket. So, if I should write 5 to the x to the power 0 in brackets, that all equals to 1. So 5 to the power x in bracket raised to the power 0 equals to 1. Okay, show that angle A is 90 degrees without measuring this. Okay, so without measuring, we need to show that this is 90 degrees. So what we're going to use here, we're going to use Pythagoras Theorem. So basically, if I square the two short side, and the two short side in this case is 0.9 square plus 1.2 square, it must equals to 1.5 square. And that is the way I'm going to prove that this is right, this is equal. So if I square 0.9 square, I'm going to end up with, sorry, 0.9 square, I'm going to end up with 0.81 plus 1.44, and that should equals to, so if I add both of them, I should get 1.5 square, which is 2.25. Okay, so or 81 and 1.44 equals, so therefore, right, both are add together equals to 2.25. Therefore A is 90 degrees. Okay, so basically we have proved by squaring 0.9 plus 1.2 square, add them together, your answer gives you 2.25, and when I square 1.5 I get 2.25, so therefore that proves that it is a right angle without measuring the angle. Okay, it says here express (6/√2) in the form a root b, where a and b are integers. So this is known as rationalizing the denominator. So to do this, we need to multiply top and bottom by root 2. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by root 2. So times by root 2 times by root 2. So if I times the top by root 2, I'm going to end up with 6√2/2. And then I can cancel, right? I can say 2 into 2 goes 1 and 2 into 6 goes 3. So we end up with 3√2. So in the form a root b, we got 3√2. So a equals to 3, b equals to 2. Says here, find the area of the triangle. and give your answer as a integer. So area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So in this case here you got 6 root 2 times 6 root 2, all of that I need to half. So I will multiply 6 times 6, that's 36. Keep the half outside, so that's 36 over 2. Okay, so the answer is 2 into, so it's going to be 2 times 2 is 4. So your answer is going to be 36 over 4, which the answer is 9 unit square. Okay, 9 unit square. So 6 times 6 is 36, root 2 times root 2 is 2. So half times 36 over 2, 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 3 is 36, so 36 over 4 is 9 units square. Okay. If we talk about right, if we talk about standard form, so standard form is written in the form basically a times 10 to the power n, right? As you can see, I've left some notes for you to read. So an ordinary number, right, where you got, say for example, say 6,802, I need to write that in standard form. So the key thing here, n is the power, right? 10 is the base 10, that's the base. This a here need to be between, okay, need to be between 1 and 10. Okay, so in this case here, for this example, I've got, say, 6.802. That number is between, that number there is between 10. So times by 10 to the power of, you can notice here 6,000, so I take 1,000 out, so it's to the power 3. Where some students get a bit confused here, and if I go through this thoroughly to explain, where I find some students get a bit confused is, for example, when you got decimals. So for example, I've got 0.00347. Okay, where you got decimal like this, okay, you're going into the negative powers. So if you look at this carefully, you can see here you got 1, 2, 3. So 3 decimal place. So you got 3.47 times by 10 to the minus 3. Okay. So what I've done here, I've just put a PowerPoint slide which explain it a bit more in words so you can actually read through. Take my display off so you can actually see some example there of standard form. Okay, these are some other example. You basically got 5.6 times 10, and that break it down for you. Standard form without a calculator. So basically you can see here, okay, the example is there, but I just go through the step by step with you. You can see you times the number by the number and you put the multiplication by itself, which is 10 to the power 8. Okay, the divide one, I think let's just go through that one just to reinforce the point. So we got here 8.4 times 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 9 in one bracket divided by 2 times 10 to the power of 4. Okay, so treat the numbers. So you got 8.4 divided by 2, and then times by 10 to the power 9 divided by 10 to the power of 4. So you deal with the numbers first. So you say 2 into 8.4 goes 4.2. That still satisfy standard form. And then go back to indices. You got base numbers are the same, so the powers, take away the powers. So 4 from 9 is 10 to the power of 5. Right, so dealing with very large numbers, there's two examples there to illustrate that for you, how we deal with very large numbers. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do here is actually look at standard form. So we got P equals 3 times 10 to the power 4 and Q equals 4 times 10 to the power 6, and it says we need to add both of these and multiply both of these questions. So if we should look at this standard form here, you can see here I'm going to work out each of these as ordinary number first. So P equals to 3 times 10 to the power of 4. So 10 to the power of 4 is 10,000. So we got 30. 3 times 10,000, so that's 30,000. Okay, and the reason for that is you can see that we need to add P plus Q, and then Q is 4 times 10 to the power 6. So 10 to the power 6 is a million. So hopefully you understand that. For example, 10 square means 10 times 10, which equals to 100. So 10 to the power 6 means 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, right, 6 times. So it is going to be 4 million. So P plus Q, it's going to be 4 million plus 30,000, and so you can see, so adding 304. Okay, now the next thing here, the question did not ask us to leave the question the answer in standard form, so you're acceptable to leave the answers this, okay, or you can leave it in standard form, and this question here in standard form would be 4.03 times 10 to the power of, and I'll go through the step with you, starting there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 to the power 6. So the answer in standard form, right, is 4.03 times 10 to the power 6. Right, the next question, I'm going to do that in standard form. So we got here PQ, mean P times Q. Okay, we know that P equals to 3 times 10 to the power 4. Q equals to 4 times 10 to the power of 6. So times in both of them together. Okay, just here we're going to have 3 times by 4 times by 10 to the power of 4 times by 10 to the power of 6. So we got 3 times 4 is 12 times 10 to the power of 10. So looking at the number, is this number in standard form? Is this between 1 and 10? No. So 1.2, I can get an extra 10, so it's 1.2 times by 10 to the power of 11. So your answer is 1.2 times 10 to the power of 11. Okay, so this is 57 days to go. So guys, could you like, subscribe and share, and also could you identify topics that you want me to go through? "57 days to go before the first maths exam."